From what has been said, then, it is clear that according to the divine law, man is led to preserve the order of reason in all that may come to his use. But among all things that come to man's use, other men are also chief. For man is by nature a social animal, for he needs many things which cannot be provided by one alone. It is necessary, therefore, that man should be instructed by the divine law to behave towards other men according to the order of reason. Still, the purpose of the divine law is that man may adhere to God. Now one man is helped in this by another, both as regards knowledge and also as regards affection. For men help each other in the knowledge of the truth, and one provokes another to good and withdraws from evil. Whence Proverbs 27:17 it is said, "Iron is sharpened with iron, and a man sharpened the face of his friend." And Wisdom 4 it is said, "9 it is better to be two than one, for they have the advantage of company. If one falls, he will be supported by the other. Woe to him who, when he has fallen, has no one to lift him up. And if two sleep, they will comfort each other. How will one warm himself? And if one prevails against one, two resist him." It was therefore necessary for the divine law to order the society of men to each other. Further, the divine law is a kind of system of divine providence for governing men, but it belongs to the divine providence to contain the individual things which are subject to it, in due order. That is to say, that each one may keep its place and rank. Therefore, the divine law orders men to each other in such a way that each one keeps his own order. This is for men to have peace with one another, for the peace of men is nothing else than orderly concord, as Augustine says. Again, whenever things are ordered under something, they must be arranged in harmony with each other. Otherwise, they would hinder each other in the attainment of the common end, as is evident in an army which is organized in unison for victory, which is the end of a leader. But every man is ordered to God by the divine law. It was therefore necessary by the divine law that there should be an ordered concord between men, that they should not hinder one another, which is peace. This is why it is said in the Psalm, "Who has set peace on your borders?" And the Lord says, John 16:33, "I have spoken these things to you, so that in me you may have peace." Then, however, orderly concord is preserved between men, when to each one is restored what is his own, that which belongs to justice. And that is why it is said in Isaiah 32:17, "The work of justice is peace." It was therefore necessary by the divine law to give precepts of justice, so that each one should render to the other what is his own, and refrain from inflicting harm on the other. But among men there is one who is most indebted to his parents, and therefore among the precepts of the law which direct us to the neighbor, Exodus 20, it is first stated, "Honor thy father and thy mother," in which is meant the commandment that each one render what he owes to his parents as well as to others, according to Romans 13:7, "Pay all debts." Then the precepts are laid down by which it is commanded to refrain from harming one's neighbor, that we should not offend him in his own person by our deeds, because it is said, "Thou shalt not kill," nor in a united person, because it is written, "You shall not commit adultery," nor even with outward things, because it is written, "Thou shalt not commit theft." We are also forbidden not to offend our neighbor by word against justice. For it is written, "Thou shalt not speak false testimony against thy neighbor." And since God is also the judge of the heart, we are prohibited from offending our neighbor with our heart, that is, by lusting after a wife or anything belonging to her. But to observe this kind of justice, which is established by the divine law, Man is inclined in two ways, in one way from the interior, in another way from the outside. Indeed, from the interior, as long as man is willing to observe what the divine law commands. This is done through man's love for God and his neighbor, for he who loves someone willingly and gladly gives back to him what he owes, and even liberally adds to it. Hence the whole fulfillment of the law depends on love, according to the words of the Apostle Romans 13:10. The fullness of the law is love. And the Lord says, Matthew 22:40, that the whole law depends on two precepts, namely, on the love of God and the neighbor. But because some people are not inwardly disposed to do of their own accord what the law commands, they must be drawn from the outside to fulfill the justice of the law. And this is done while they fulfill the law, not liberally, but servilely, for fear of punishment. Hence it is said in Isaiah 26:9, when you make your judgments on earth, that is, by punishing the wicked, all the inhabitants of the world will learn justice. Therefore they are the first to themselves, the law, having charity, which inclines them instead of the law, and makes them work liberally. Therefore it was not necessary for an external law to be laid down for their sake, but for the sake of those who are not of themselves inclined to good. Whence it is said, 1 Timothy 1:9, the law is not laid down for the righteous, but for the unrighteous. This is not to be understood as if the just are not bound to fulfill the law, as some have wrongly understood, but because these are inclined of themselves to do justice, even without the law.